Hey, welcome back to another Friday edition of our live transitions talks. Today, I have a wonderful guest for you, a guy I'm pleased to work with over at QRF Up. He is our operations director. He is a major in the United States Army Reserve who served 11 years, and he's been in this transition for 4 months. I'm really happy to bring to you Mr. Stephen Sampson, somebody who is becoming fast friends, and he's here to talk about his transition woes. So, Stephen, welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. So let's talk about your transition, man. Where are you at? What's it been like? How have you navigated it? And what are your thoughts and feelings on it, brother?
Sure. First of all, transitioning from anything to anything else is always a scary process, because it may be the devil it may be the angel it doesn't matter. It's something it's what you're familiar with. So yeah, I got out of active duty in May, so it's been about 4 months, give or take a week or so. Um, and I self-reflect a lot, so I took some notes. I want to share some stuff with other people who may be thinking about getting out of active duty, or who have recently done it, or did it a long time ago.
I think
It's going to
this is
be some,
awesome. Only you and S3 would have taken notes and
man.
reflected on his own transition.
It's what I
I
do.
know, dude. I know. I'm so bad about taking notes, which if you're listening to this, you should actually write things down. It's actually a really good practice to have, and it's super beneficial. I'm just stubborn, and I don't like to write. So I digress.
I understand completely. Um, Kind of the first thing that there's all sorts of logistics with getting out, and we'll get there in a moment, but like the biggest thing that I've noticed, and you may have as well, is identity, right?
Dude, it's the most common thing that I have discovered. It's the biggest problem. It's really two things. Identity and purpose are the two big hangups for any transitioning veteran I've talked to. It doesn't matter if it was 30 years ago or if it was yesterday. It's the same problem over and over and over again. So I'm so glad that this is your first point.
Oh, I'm glad. Good. Yeah. It is, because it's a problem, like you said, but it can be an opportunity, as you've used in your personal life, I've noticed. So the real question is, who do you want to be? Right. So you go ahead. You gonna say something?
I was. It's really. I think you got the question wrong, and
Okay.
I think it's really a question of who am I, not who do
Ooh,
you want to be, but who am I? Because
good way to
and
put
I
it.
say that because I'm a guy who joined at 17 years old, spent 12 and a half years in, so I'm 30 years old when I'm coming out. When was I actually a real adult? Exactly.
Yeah.
So my identity was completely wrapped up in the Army as an infantryman, right? Particularly with four combat deployments. So I don't think that that's a bad question, because you're right, it is the opportunity, but I think the right question is who am I, and then who do I want to be in that, that discovery of who am I.
Well said. Well said.
I've been doing
I
this for
like
a
that.
minute, man.
Yeah, I noticed. Having not been doing this for a minute, that was my question. I follow yours. That makes sense. So, like the thought process is, to a large degree, you had to take what other folks needed you to be and what they wanted you to be, and they told you exactly what that was. And you did that to the best of your ability, and it's an important part of your identity. But as you leave, you kind of, like you said, discover a little bit who you were aside from that, who you are aside from it. And then you can kind of steer the ship in the direction you'd like it to grow into the future. A lot of those things were very valuable that we were given, a lot of them. And some of them are less valuable depending on who you are, right? Like some folks just easily walked right into it. It's already who they were. Um,
Right.
but I feel like, yeah, one of the biggest problems that leads to something like depression or something like that may be a lack of identity, because the large chunk that was copied and pasted from a good template is now no longer necessarily there.
Hmm.
Um,
So how did you deal with that?
yeah, well, you have to. That's where I went with my question: who do you want to be, right? Because envision a future, find out where you are now. What's the gap look like? I guess it's a gap analysis if you want to call it that. But so what actions do we need to take to get there? Was the thought process.
Well,
And
back
what things do we keep?
right.
Right?
Even more important.
Yeah. Because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Ever.
Right. If you were good at waking up every morning and working out and taking notes in your notebook or whatever, like those might be things you want to keep.
Well, and to your point, the first thing I threw out was the discipline to get up early and work out every day. It's the first thing that went away. And what happened as a result of that? I gained 100 fucking pounds. And then I had to lose 100 pounds.
I was about to say, didn't I hear correctly that you lost that?
I did. Yeah. But just as an example, I abandoned PT. It was the first thing I abandoned. I never understood. I thought PT is like just maintain the physical shape that you're in, because let's be honest, PT is not really doing anything to build for you, but it's really more than that. It's this internal need that we have to feed our souls, I believe.
Well said. Completely agree. And I think everything else is tied to that. And I don't want to be the guy who does the cop out where like fitness always, but yeah, it's important.
It is.
Literally your entire mindset and your emotional state feed off of that baseline.
I don't think it needs to be intense fitness though, right? For the longest time. I mean, I lost 100 pounds walking. I walked.
That's true.
So please, whoever's listening to this, if anybody's listening to this right now, don't misunderstand. We're not telling you need to be a gym rat in there for 4 hours, crushing your soul. But, just get up and go move your body.
Well, that's what you did, because that's what human beings have been doing for a very long time. And it seems to work really well.
We walk upright for a reason.
Yeah. But that consistency with that is the key to everything, in my opinion. Because once you lose that momentum, it's really hard to get started again.
Dude, you're not lying.
Right.
Because that was the lie I would tell myself. Oh, I'll start Monday. I'll go back to the gym on Monday. Monday comes. Oh, I'll go back to the gym next Monday. Oh, I'll go back to the gym next month.
Well,
8.5 years later.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so easy to do. And you've seen tons of people do the same thing.
It's an interest. Yeah, I have. And it really is easy to do. And I actually just saw a thing the other day. So this may be helpful. I think this is extremely helpful. This guy took 6 months to get back in the gym, and he started by just walking out of his front door and sitting in his car with the intention to go to the gym. That would progress to him driving to the gym and sitting in the parking lot. Then it would progress to him going into the gym and walking around looking at the equipment until it finally led to him picking up heavy shit and putting it back down again.
Hey, that's a good model. It gets you there.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Well, my theory is however you feel about it right now today is the best you'll ever feel about it. It's not going to get better tomorrow or 3 years from now. Like, this is the most you're going to feel like doing it, which is unfortunate. So you have to do it now.
That's a really good point. I never looked at it from that perspective. That's really good.
Well, it's the same with all the business projects that you've been involved in. Like, today's the most you're going to feel like it. It's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
Probably start tomorrow. Nah, today's the most you'll feel like it.
That's so true. So true, man. Anyway.
Yeah. Definitely start walking. That makes a lot of sense. For small direction shift, for the folks who are transitioning out of active duty right now or are about to start that process, you have to go through the Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program, SFL TAP, or something similar to it. Pay attention in that class. They teach you a lot of stuff, right? It's another one of those classes everyone has to go to and everyone's familiar with it. People in your class are not paying attention. Pay attention to it. They teach you everything about how the VA works and how it's going to benefit you. They teach you how to write resumes. They teach you all that stuff. And a lot of folks don't pay attention. Highly recommend paying attention to it. Take notes in your notebook. Do it for a week. And you can do a lot better than 3 or 4 months later than if you hadn't paid attention.
So this is contrary to what I've been hearing, and it was contrary to my experience. So you think the SFL TAP program is actually halfway decent?
It definitely got me reference points to shift from, to do further further analysis on resume writing or things like that, right? It
Yeah.
gave me a reference point, like, okay, cool, I can shift from a known point, um,
So
because I
I
took
think
notes.
that's a valid point, and I think that may be the kind of the breakdown, if you will, is I do think that most of us try to pay attention. My ACAP, so this is how I'm aging myself, but my ACAP was I didn't even the only thing I even went to was the resume class. Everything else they fed me via email online. So of course,
uh,
what do we even do this in our professional life? If you don't want to admit it on here, that's fine. But just talking about the nonprofit, I ignore emails all of the time. I will
oh yeah,
open it. I'll read the subject. I might read the first sentence and be like, yep, this doesn't fucking apply to me. So completely done. Right. And I know a lot of those emails I got in my transition. And mind you, I'm thinking back almost a decade. So forgive me if I get this wrong, but they weren't really clear on kind of explaining the resource. It's different coming in an email than it is having somebody in a classroom sit in front of you and tell you with their mouth how to employ these resources. So, I talk a lot of shit, and that's why I want to correct myself, right? Because if you're telling me the SFL TAP is an okay program, then I've got to stop talking shit about it because
I got you.
I'm not doing any transitioning veterans any favors by talking shit about a program that already exists, right? Do I
Yeah,
think that it could probably be better? Well, everything can always be better. And yes, I probably am willing, I think you'll probably agree, it does fall short on a lot of things.
sure, sure.
But if the key and you just went through this, so I think this is important to bring up. If you're noticing that people in your SFL TAP class are not paying attention, and that's the breakdown, well, the onus falls on you as the transitioning soldier at this point, or veteran in general. So uh anyway, I made my
Yeah,
peace with that, and hopefully you understand where I'm trying to go with that, because I do talk a lot of shit about the transition process.
sure. No, I follow exactly where you're coming from. I've heard plenty of different sides of it. Part of it is I'm an overly positive dude, right? So I'm just going to take what's good from it and generally have a good day anyways. But because I choose to. But um, the class that I did was taught in person for like a week straight, and they would give you like, hey, here's how the resume works. Do one and show it to me tomorrow, and I'll give you feedback. Like, okay, great. This is like being in school again. Like, here's my homework. Please review it.
Yeah.
And so my experience with it was very positive. But I'm a lucky person, and so may have a different experience than a lot of other people.
I mean, again, it's hard to talk in generalities, right? Like we
Yeah,
put this broad blanket over everything. I'm not a fool. I've witnessed firsthand. My sister is a veteran now, and she's no longer active duty. Got out as a major in the Air Force after 10 years. Her transition is fine. It's great. It's lovely.
yeah,
Like no issues whatsoever. But she's always known who she is. She had a real estate empire on the side while they're active duty. Her and her husband have this going for them. So like largely avoided probably 99% of all the problems that we all face in transition. Good for them, right? I would consider her an outlier.
yeah, yeah,
you know so
absolutely. Well, she had been building that up the whole time, so it's a pretty good crash pad, if you will.
yeah, of course. So well, I'm glad to hear that you got something out of SFL TAP, because you are by and large the first person I've ever heard say that, so kudos
Good.
to you.
I'm here to shake things up, man.
Yeah, dude.
Um, what's not going to surprise anyone is the job market is what it is, right? And as you transition out, you're going to find that out whether you know it or not. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not here to evaluate stats and say like, oh, 5 years ago it was an easier job market or a harder one than it is right now. Everyone's parents think they had a harder time than you do, like whatever. But the one thing I do know is that it is not something that is safe, right? So, and by that I mean, you may have a great opportunity right off the bat. You might work for them for about 3 months. Good company, good people. You're a valuable employee. Hey, they restructure. Bye. See ya. Right? It happens. Happens all the time. You probably know someone that's worked at a company for 40 years, getting ready for that pension. Something happens. Okay, thank you for playing by. It happens.
Hmm.
It's not safe. So just understand as you enter the job market that nothing is safe. Uh, things can happen. So you have to be ready to pivot and adapt and overcome.
So, talking about the job market, I,
Yeah.
I have this kind of weird view on. I mean, you're a major, and so I've always felt like officers have a leg up when competing for jobs in the job market over enlisted. But really, I'm hearing, and not just from you, so it's not just coming from you. I do talk to a lot of other veterans, a lot of higher ranking officers too. And this day and age, everybody seems to be struggling. Has that been the case, just kind of since you've been out, just in
Yeah.
general?
That's what it seems like. It's a weird situation right now, at least from my cursory experience here. But it looks like there are no jobs, but there are certainly jobs all at the same time, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
weird. Like,
This is this interesting dynamic because you'll have these like entry level jobs that require 5+ years of experience. And
mhm.
I just had an interesting recording with a guy who specializes in veterans career journeys. And he's got an interesting take on this. He's like, these companies absolutely have every right to require, this much experience for this entry level position. And he really kind of made sense to me, right? Like those are usually more specialized career fields where you can't be a leader without that kind of experience. You can't get the job done, can't be effective in that entry level job unless you have this experience. So, have you learned any tricks to take your experience from the army and spin it so that you can qualify for jobs like that?
Yes, but I had a much easier time with that than a lot of other people have. So the job that I'm currently in, right? I work for Grey Group Tactical. As you know, Mark over there, the CEO, founder, worked in the same S3 shop that I worked in, right? So we think the same. And so we took lots of the same processes and planning sequences. I was like, this probably applies to business. So so we are already aligned there. He's my boss. I go, hey man, here is my long range calendar. Great. I'm familiar with this.
Right, right, yeah.
so I didn't have to spin it that hard to be like, here's a new way to word what I do for a civilian thing because it's a guy who just got out of the army as well. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is going to toot your horn for a minute because I think what's really interesting and what draws me to you is your mindset about all of this. You by and large you're becoming one of my favorite people, and I say that for a lot of reasons, but the most important reason is because your mind is attracted to learning new things. It's always open to learning everything, and I think that's so important as we transition out of the military because I really view the military as this very fixed mindset thing. And what it takes for you to figure out who you are when you transition out is you have to get out of that fixed mindset and transfer over into this growth mindset. And one of the pillars of a growth mindset is constantly being attracted to learning something new.
I love
So
that.
do you agree, first of all? And has this been your approach in your transition? Because to me, the way you present, and I know outward appearances aren't everything, and it's unique in our relationship because we do get to work together on the nonprofit, and it's been wonderful. And then some other things behind the scenes that we won't get into here, but so maybe I'm biased in thinking that, and so maybe you are struggling internally. You're just not ready to talk about it, but I think by and large, your mindset is really it's really something to be envious of. I wish I would have had the same mindset that you outwardly portray when I was getting out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was loaded. Thank you. Yeah, I do agree with you, as you asked, whether it's I think you used the growth mindset phrase. Yeah. I mean, there is so much to learn, whether you're in the military or not. Like in anything you're doing, there is so much to learn. You'll never know all of it. And other people are learning. So there's a bit of a competitive streak in me that helps with that, right? Someone else learned how this works. So why don't we try to do that too? It can't be that hard, you know?
Right.
Yeah. You find somebody, you know what their drive is, and they become good at copywriting or something, right? Like, okay, well, that's a skill set. They don't teach that in school very much, but this person picked it up. Well, let's learn. What is copywriting? I don't know. I'm not good at it yet, but I know what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And some of it I think is I'm trying to chase dopamine, like, the feel good hormones that you get for accomplishing stuff the good way, right? Like if I learn something new, I feel proud of myself.
This is the productive way to chase dopamine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to chase it. I want to learn something new today and then be proud of it and build on it. That makes me feel good. So that's a bit of what it is.
I love that, man. That's what I love about you is that you just like when we have a conversation about we should implement XYZ for the nonprofit, you're like, I don't know yet, but I'll learn. It's always I'll learn. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Fuck, man, I don't do that. I look at something, I'm like, I don't want to learn that. I have no desire to learn that. Like, you're just like, yeah, I'll learn it. I'll learn everything. I don't care.
It's fun for me. I don't know like why that works or how to scale that, but I like it. Thank you.
I think it's just you, man. I think it's just you.
Good.
So
good. Well, I mean, some of that has to do with the network, right? Because
I knew you were going to talk about this.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But that's how it works, right? So if the old adage of you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So who do you want to become? We already talked about, or who are you? But now it's like steering that ship. Who do you put around you? Well, you can curate that part of your reality by picking the right people and cutting out the wrong people. And so if I'm, go ahead.
Yeah, we got to stop there because that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
So how do you in Stephen's personal life recognize who, let's just use you and our relationship as an example. You didn't have a clue who I was when you came on board to the nonprofit.
Right.
Obviously, quickly you found out because, I'm in a leadership position on the nonprofit and I have to do a job. It's going to be pretty obvious if I'm not, fit for that job or whatever, right? Like that's just speaking truth. But like beyond that, how do you determine, okay, like what is the process you use to evaluate those relationships, I guess is really what I'm asking.
Sure. Is it someone I think I can respect or someone that I respect right off the bat? Right. That's just the first filter. And how do we look at the respect? Well, like you said earlier, mindset. I want someone that matches my mindset. If I see a little bit of a similarity there, I'm going to pull the thread and find out a little more. And so you are very blunt in your communication.
Yeah.
You don't stumble around like trying to be extra nice or something. You don't care about that. Like, here's what it is. And I respond very well to that. And so
not a lot of people do, though. It's to my detriment at times, but hey, there's something to be said for authenticity. And I definitely don't beat around the bush. I think it wastes your time and it wastes my time. And there's no reason to waste any time because that's a finite commodity that we have.
Oh, yeah. Completely agree. But that's part of the filter. Can I respect them? As I get to know you a little bit, if you say you're going to do something, is that what you do? Is your verbal contract golden, basically? If it gets my respect, then I want to spend time with you. And then you have the same mindset that you were talking about me having, because some of the stuff we've talked about for the nonprofit and for other endeavors that you have are really interesting, and I know you didn't get them from the Army. And so that means you learned them all yourself.
That's very true. No, and this is why I love this show. And this segment is becoming so much fun for me because through these conversations, I get to learn more about myself, how other people see me and why, God, this is going to sound so egotistical, but I don't want it to, but like why I think I'm having success in building what I'm building, because I get to learn from other people's perceptions of me and then kind of carry that forward into what I do.
Good point. Yeah, you bounce it off of someone else, comes back to you, and then you can actually get a real feel.
Yeah, it's almost like, the way I validated the idea for everything that I've built is being given an opportunity to talk to a skill bridge program.
Sure.
So that's why these are fun. Anyway, back to your points. I'm so I have so much fun with these, so I apologize for interrupting you, but I think they're important, and this is how we create value so that our brothers and sisters don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. I don't know that you've made any mistakes yet because you're still 4 months into your transition and you have surrounded yourself with people who get it. You know what I mean? And I think that's really effective for you navigating the transition and all that you have going on in your life, you know, professional and personal. I think by you latching on to Mark and Mark bringing you into the nonprofit and us getting together with the group of people we have there, you've done a really good job of surrounding yourself with people who aren't going to let you make mistakes like that.
Thank you. Yes, I had some good advice from some pretty wise people. They're like, hey, build the crash pad now in case you need it. You have all these people that are helping you, that are rowing with you, that can be part of your tribe or whatever other phrase you want to use for that, right? The network, like we were saying. Yeah. I got a weird one I want to hear your opinion on. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So when you're in the military, someone, you report to someone's in charge of you, and they have to care about you to some degree. They have to. It's part of their job description, right? So maybe you're in the barracks, your team leader is coming to check your room, coming to make sure you got your haircut, coming to make sure you show up to PT on time. They have to care.
Right.
As you exit, you run into this situation where no one actually has to care about your well-being. Maybe your family does because you're very blessed and they naturally do. Maybe the friends that you do have do care. That's kind of their choice, but no one has to.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's weird about that is if you show genuine care to someone when you don't have to, it really makes a difference for them.
Mm-hmm.
It really stands out because it wasn't required. Like maybe your team leader was a good person and did care, but he also had to, you know.
Right.
There's some value in that, but it's a little different when they don't have to. What's your thought on that?
Well, I think with all the lessons that I've learned over the last little over a year, one of the most prominent things that I first had to learn was to love and respect myself first and foremost. But in that, I also learned that if you show love and respect to generally everybody, if you see them as human beings and you take a genuine interest in their well-being and just approach it with a genuine feeling of wanting to help others, it does something to your soul. It fills your cup, and it's selfish, and it's selfish in a good way because it allows you to be better. And if you do it enough, you'll build yourself up to then kind of move into the rest of everything we've talked about, figuring out who you are and, you know, shifting that mindset and getting into that constantly learning mode. At least this is how I did it, man. You know, and everybody that's listening to this largely knows that I had a cheat code. Ayahuasca was a cheat code, straight up a cheat code. It showed me the top of the mountain. It showed me the path that I had to follow. It was not a cheat code for the work that had to go into it. Right. So I had to do the integration before and after. I had to keep that open mind at that retreat to participate. And then I had to continue to follow and practice all of those things that were taught to me via the integration process, the medicine itself, you know, the post integration. I even sought out more training to get more tools to continue to make myself better. And I did all of that to focus on me, because what you're talking about is as a leader in the military, we have to care about others. It's just a requirement, right? Like an NCO's job and in the Army is to provide purpose, direction, and motivation, right? So by and large, in order to accomplish that mission, you have to give a shit.
Right.
And so when we do that in the military, we largely take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves. And so basically all I've done is 180 degrees. I have to take care of myself before I can take care of anybody else.
Kind of like when you get to brief on the airplane to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes,
so
sir.
that you can help everyone else.
Exactly like that.
I like that.
Hopefully that was a decent answer to what you were asking me.
Oh, no, it is. It is. I like that. So if you're talking about the self-love aspect and self-respect and all of self-esteem, if you will.
Yeah, because it's really hard, I think, to when the army, right? And I say army, but military, right? Because I'm sure it's the same in other branches. You're just kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but like you don't have a choice but to be held accountable. And so you lose that from the military when you get out, right? The accountability piece of it. So in order to become accountable, you have to care about yourself because you can't hold yourself accountable if you're not in the place to love and respect yourself. You'll never hold yourself accountable. It's like what we talked about with fitness. Largely the reason I quit working out when I got out of the army is because I didn't understand what it was doing for me. And because I just didn't give a shit. I didn't care about myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't believe in myself. I thought I was worthless. I didn't know who I was without the army. I didn't want to face the things that are required to figure out who you are. And so, when you do learn how to love and respect yourself, that comes back around. You learn how to hold yourself accountable because when we're not loving and respecting ourselves, what we tend to do is lie to ourselves. I'll start Monday. Monday turns into next Monday. That Monday turns into next month, turns into next year. And then before you know it, you're 8.5 years down the road. You're ready to run your motorcycle into a tree at 120 miles an hour because you can't figure out why you're here and what your purpose is anymore. And so all of that changes when you start loving and respecting yourself. You then get the discipline and the ability to hold yourself accountable back. That's just the way I see it.
I agree so much. I'm enjoying some of the comments too. I saw Carlos's comment, nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, and that's just, I mean, and this stuff for those listening, like, yes, I've niched into veterans because it's a community that needs help and I love and care about so very much and that I'm a part of. But these are universal skills no matter what phase of life you're transitioning into, because everyone has these forks in the road that they come to, which are just major transition points. So all of this is beneficial for everybody. So don't think that this is just speaking to veterans. It's just that's the community I've chosen to serve.
I think your last speech hit the nail on the head so hard with the accountability piece and the discipline, right? So I agree that that applies to everyone. It's just like a universal law. It seems like that maximum self accountability is the starting point for everything good for you and for everyone around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is simply discipline, which
Well, and
usually
it's the
means
foundation of everything that I do. Everybody, you can go back and look. Like discipline is my favorite thing. Discipline is the only thing that's never abandoned me in my life. Discipline will always be there to show me that I'm wrong. It will always be there to show me that I'm right. And it will always be there to lift you up in your successes. And it'll also be there to lift you up in your failures because the discipline to just show up and do the hard thing every day. Everybody has something hard they have to do every day. I don't care what it is. Your definition of hard is different. The way you get through that is discipline.
yeah,
That's it.
it
It's like
is.
it's like my only core value is discipline. With it, you can move mountains with discipline.
You can. And with this accountability that comes with it, I've personally found it a little easier to be accountable if you have at least another person who's on the same journey as you, right?
Yes,
That will call you out where you would have not been as accountable as you'd like to be and kind of compete with you in that space.
100%. Like I preach. I don't really preach out loud, but like behind the scenes to my team and to you know this accountability partners. I love them. I have one. I have more than one, right? Like I have those
Hmm.
people, and I'm also one to myself. But like that took a long time for me to learn how to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can come to the stronghold and you can see a post I made yesterday in there about I've been wrestling with this feeling, right? Like I'm a football junkie. I've always been a football junkie. I played football. I wasn't good enough to ever go pro, but like I still love the sport. And now it's become, like a time suck. And I felt guilty about spending time on Thursday nights and Saturdays and Sundays and Monday nights watching football. And then I was like, yeah, but life doesn't have to always be about work. And so maybe on Saturdays, I don't watch every single college football game I can shove down my throat. Maybe I take some time to do some admin work behind the scenes where I don't have meetings on the calendar or whatever. And I can be satisfied in that, hold myself accountable to do that work before I watch football. Football doesn't start till what, 1 o'clock Eastern, I think.
Sure.
So I've got a whole half a day to get some work done to justify my ability to go watch football. It's only through discipline I would get that done, because if not, it would be just like before. I'd wake up at like 8 o'clock, probably wouldn't do any kind of exercise, scroll on my phone for a while. Oh, 1 o'clock's here. Let's watch football. And then you get nothing done.
Right. So you're building in the consistency, and then you're rewarding yourself later. But yeah, you're dead on. It's not all about discipline at work, but discipline certainly enables, all the good things you'd
Everything,
like to have.
everything, everything. I love discipline so much.
Well, I think you that's starting a cool path then. So I think discipline has to be, something you do, everything you're supposed to do, regardless of how you feel. We all know that as the baseline. Um, to amp it up from there, I think it's very difficult to wallow in emotions that you don't like, that are not serving you, if you're doing those things you're supposed to do. Like if you're being disciplined, you won't feel like it when you do it, but you usually feel pretty proud of yourself later.
Yes.
Like all the walks you went on that dropped 100 pounds for you, you certainly didn't feel like it when you did it. But maybe an hour later, maybe during the walk, I'm not sure, at least a couple of years later, you're very proud of it, you know?
Well, and you're bringing up a really good point. All those walks I went on, I hated it at first. It's hot here in Florida. It's humid, and I was
Yeah.
fat. Like that's tough, right? Like it sucks. And then something happened, and I don't know when it happened, but it turned into I would use the walks to sort out the shit going on in my head. So now,
Mhm.
not only am I moving my body, being disciplined to get up every day and just go on this walk. And it didn't start at 4 miles. It started at like, I think like 1.75 miles and then kind of went up from there. But, through the evolution of that walk, the morning walk, as it's famously known as here on LinkedIn, and everybody loved those videos. I should probably get back to them. But as that evolved, I would start practicing the mindfulness piece of things. So whatever mood I woke up in, or whatever mood I was carrying with me from when I went to bed the night before, that I couldn't just work out with other modalities that I like to partake in at nighttime. I would start working on those in the morning. And then from there, it would develop into, well, I know that I have to have the discipline to make a LinkedIn post every day because it's how you grow, the thing that you're trying to build. I would use it to think about, what am I going to post about? And usually it would be something about that same thing that I was working on in my head. And so like all of this stuff starts to build on, that's really the point of my monologue here, is it starts to build on itself.
Well, and then when you were doing that, you were being authentic, on your post, because you're talking about the thing that you're actually really wrestling with, and people are going to identify with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
Mindfulness. Well said. That is not something that I have given the appropriate amount of attention to, and I know that you have. And so as we continue to work together, I'm excited to learn some of that from you.
it's
Mindfulness is
just, yeah, it's powerful, man. It's weird when you start. It's really weird. Like
mm,
really, I don't know. The best example I could give is go for a walk without headphones on and really try to be present and focus on the sounds that you're hearing, the air, how the air feels on your body. Really start to get in tune with kind of everything that's going on in your little world, and then it becomes easier to pick apart those things or those thoughts or whatever it is you need to work on becomes very apparent, is what I'm trying to say. Like, and I don't know what that looks like for you because I'm not in your head. I can't know what's going on in there, right? So like for
yeah.
me, a lot of times I struggle, and I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but there's a million and one thoughts going on in my head at all times. It never stops, ever, never, ever stops. And it's anything from like, I'm the greatest person in the world to I'm the scummiest piece of shit on the planet and the world's going to fall apart. And so like, for me to focus in on all of those, the environment around me, being present in that moment, listening to the birds chirp, how I'm feeling internally, all of those thoughts start to melt away, and I start to be able to pick out the ones, like you said, that don't serve me, and I get to just let them go. I get to throw them away. Doesn't mean that they stop per se, but I just don't pay attention to them anymore. They become obsolete, if you will.
Sure.
So
Sure.
hopefully that's like a good kind of jumping off point for you.
It's a great jumping off point for me. I appreciate it. I need to
Yeah.
do that. I found a technique that does it a little differently if you want to shut your brain off for a couple of minutes. Okay, so I don't have a foundation in combat sports. I didn't grow up doing MMA. I did whatever the most basic army combatives thing was like 10 years ago. I don't have that foundation. Didn't wrestle in high school, just normal sports. But soon as I got out, I was like, where are the people that compete? Where are the fire breathers? Where do they hang out? You know, jujitsu. Cool. Let's try this. I don't know anything about it. Teach me. This is fun. And at least for me, for however long people are rolling, I cannot have a single thought other than, trying to wrestle my opponent. I can't do anything else. Nothing, no intrusive thought is going to pop in there at all. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I get choked
So
out.
my thing now is being back in the gym lifting weights, right? It's me versus me, it's me versus the weights. And I tell myself that when I get into those deeper sets and I'm tired, it's like last night I was doing arms, right? And I'm like, it's you versus you. Like you're the only one who can quit on yourself right now. Like, do you want to quit or do you want to try your hardest to finish this set? Right. And so I
Right.
relate to that 1,000%. I did wrestle all through grade school up till my senior year of high school. I was a wrestler. So thinking back to that experience, I don't think I battled any of those thoughts because it's very much like you have to be present in what is my opponent doing? How am I going to leverage his weight against him to do this move, to do that? Right. Right. You get it because you're a jujitsu guy. But like, you know, it's a really solid point, man.
Well, I mean, it tried boxing as well. Had never done that. Like, cool, first day, everyone like, I don't know, how does this work? I'm not sure. I've seen Rocky once or twice. Let's try it. But like, man, you cannot take your mind off of that, or you will get punched in the face again. And so it's it's a pretty cool mindfulness thing. You want to
Yeah.
clear your head? Go fight.
It's like
Let's.
Pavlov's dog, right? Like, oh, I latched onto that thought when I should be paying attention to where his hands are going and I got hit in the nose. Probably don't want to do that again. You'll learn real quick.
Yeah, and you can't be thinking about, oh, what was that thing I'm supposed to do on Tuesday night? Like, nope, done.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. 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 No,
Know
that's
your lead.
that's really good skills for getting into presence and mindfulness stuff. I really like where this is going. This is good.
Good.
What else
I
you
think
got?
that kind of feeds into compound interest, right? So whatever choices you make today, kind of along the lines of your discipline concept that you love so much, but everything is compound interest. Whatever you're doing today, every little choice molds who you're going to be tomorrow, and it continues that way, and pretty much till you die, um, within the things that you can control. So, you know, did you eat the donut today? Yeah. Did you choose not quite to do that workout that you thought you were going to do? Yeah, it's fine. It's not going to hurt you today, but that attitude will hurt you 3 weeks from now, right?
Oh, I love that you bring this up because this has been coming up for me a lot lately. I lost 100 pounds, been pretty stable on the weight, at least from a scale standpoint, easing back into the gym after the back surgery and trying to establish this new routine and how it all fits in. Cause I want to continue the walking, but also want to get the gym in, but like want to continue fasting. And so like playing with all of these different modalities that have gotten me this far really becomes this juggling act and where I can start seeing that attitude in myself and what you're talking about with the compound interest. And it's like, hold up, Adam, you got to reel this shit back in because it happens way faster than you realize, the weight gain and the falling out of the routines and the discipline and all of that. It really just like, it doesn't have, you don't get in shape obviously as fast as you get out of shape is the perception, right? But like you don't realize those, I call them hazardous attitudes because I'm a pilot. I don't know what it is,
I like
but
that.
you don't realize like how much those creep in and then take over if you're not, again, being mindful of them. So I'm glad that you bring this up because this is really important.
Oh, thank you. Um, I'm glad that you can see that as well. Yeah, mindfulness thing made me think of, so it sounds a little hokey, but gratitude, right? Huge for mindfulness.
You're just checking all
Huge.
the boxes. You're checking them all. Everything I talk about on a daily basis. You're
Okay,
just
good.
checking the boxes, man.
I haven't been paying attention to what you talk about on a daily basis, but it looks like we think
That's
about
because you
like,
basically just got on LinkedIn yesterday.
yeah,
Come on.
correct. Well, like the gratitude thing, if you want a mindfulness practice, I saw a very successful person talk about, pick one thing every day that you're grateful for, and the easy win. And you go on QRF Up's social media, and you'll see some stuff. But we, Mark and I were talking about it. Like, hey, I woke up today with two arms. A lot of people did not wake up today with two arms, but I have them. Okay, do push-ups, use them, right? Like someone that doesn't have that particular gift would love to be able to use them. If, imagine trying to tell somebody at Johns Hopkins that just lost their legs that you don't feel like going for a walk today. Like that would kill them right there on the spot. They would give anything to go use their legs, to go do stuff. And you probably have things like that across your entire life that other people just don't have for whatever reason, and they aren't using them. And the gratitude, as I grew up, gratitude was like thanking people for what they did for you, and that's valuable. But I think if you can tie an action to it, it's that much more intense, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like use your legs if you have them, use your arms if you have them. If you have a capable mind, go learn something.
Not only that, but expressing gratitude to others actually neurologically fills your cup. It's science. Like it actually changes your brain chemistry by expressing the emotion of gratefulness or gratitude to someone else for something that they have done. So largely when we finish this recording here today, I will be
Yeah.
grateful for the time that you have spent here for me. I'm sure you probably notice when we end a lot of our calls, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your time. I sign my emails with gratitude because expressing that stuff really will. And if you don't believe me, reach out to Lawson Latimer. He won't mind me name dropping him on this show. Did some work with him pretty early on in his transition. And to change his mind, I gave him an assignment when we got off the phone call. I told him to go in the other room and tell his wife that he was grateful for her and then just be quiet. And pretty shortly thereafter, he did it. And he was like, dude, I had no idea how powerful this would be. She started crying. I started crying. I felt good on the inside. She felt good on the inside. And it brought them closer together in their relationship just because he walked in the other room and said, I'm grateful for you.
Wow.
Imagine that. Isn't that powerful?
It is. And it's simple words. And most of us don't do that.
And it's really hard to get it out. I don't know if you've actually tried to walk up to somebody, look them in the eyes and say, I'm grateful for you, but there will be hesitation the first time, few times that you try to do that. It's tough. It's really hard to do. We're not wired, or at least we haven't been raised or brought up or kind of coached to do that.
Correct. I have experienced it once or twice. I did it to my parents a few months ago, and it hit them very deeply. Like,
How
oh,
did
okay,
it make you feel though?
great,
Right.
great.
Was it hard to get out though?
Yeah, it was hard to get out.
See,
Yeah, of course.
it
It
gets
doesn't feel
easier with time.
natural.
It
Yeah,
gets
I
easier with
believe
time.
that. Yeah, but like
I love it,
I
man.
guess no one tells their mom and their dad like, "Hey, thanks for all the stuff you did for me." Like, okay, you know.
Right. No matter how shitty it was, like you should always be grateful. Another thing that goes right along with this, I don't know if you've moved into this yet or not, but abundance mindset. Have you ever played with that?
I know the basic theory, but I haven't played with it. Whatever you mean by that.
I mean,
I'm all ears.
simple exercise. I'm looking around at all of this stuff sitting on my desk right now. I have an
Hmm.
abundance of things compared to some of the places I've been in the world. There is absolutely no reason that I should want for any more. There's no reason that I should think that I need more than I have.
Mm.
And you can do that. You can apply that to largely anything. And I really like this for aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly because my philosophy on entrepreneurship is if you want to be in entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to go to zero. And that means like
Yeah.
risk everything. Right. And I think that's largely true. But if you approach that with an abundance mindset and you look at your bank account and instead of saying, I don't have a lot of money, you say, I have an abundance of money, because largely I don't care. In America, the poorest Americans have more money than most people in the rest of the world.
Oh yeah.
It's just a simple fact, right? So when you start approaching looking at a bank account like that, or the tasks that you have to, or the stuff you have, or whatever that looks like to you, if you look at it and just tell yourself, I have an abundance of things, quickly you'll shift and be able to control your spending more. You'll be able to kind of combat, like if you're a very material person, you'll be able to combat that itch that you get when something new comes out, right? Like the prime example is I used to upgrade my iPhone every year when the new one came out. I just did that last week for the first time in 5 years because there was no reason. Like I have an abundance of things. There's really not that much difference in the phones. Like I can wait. I don't need to. And then I only did it this year because it's the last year I could get the maximum trade-in value for the old phone that I had paid off. You know what I mean? So like also a bargain shopper a little bit in that regard. But like when you switch that mindset, you will rein in your spending, and you will be able to see things from kind of a totally different light and be like, we're doing okay. Like even if all you can do is pay the bills and you have nothing left over, just think about the fact that you have clothes on your back, food in the freezer, and a roof over your head.
Well, compare that to your entire bloodline that got you here in the first place.
Yeah,
How many of those didn't have any of those things?
exactly.
Right? Like the rich people at some point didn't have ice. You know what I mean? Like you can get ice from the fridge whenever you want, or from the freezer whenever you want to. They didn't have air conditioning. Like, yeah, we're very, very comfortable right now. I think your point is dead on.
I think we're almost too comfortable.
Yeah.
I think
Well, then go ahead.
that perpetuates some of the problems that we have.
Okay. So I do agree with you. And I think that personally choosing to go do something difficult, challenging, or a bit scary, right, is going to result in all the values that we actually appreciate.
I agree with that.
So it's really hard to get a sense of adventure, which is something that we probably all crave, from anyone's regular day job, whatever it may be. Maybe you got that in the military, maybe you did not. It doesn't matter. It's not about back then, it's about today, right? Where is your adventure now? What are you conquering? What are you building? What are you growing? And in order to get to that level of satisfaction with your day or with your life or with the direction you're going, you got to do something scary. You got to try something hard. You got to challenge yourself. And that all comes with discomfort.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Constant state of discomfort over here.
Yeah. Good. Good. That's the only way you grow.
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Like, so moving forward, did you gain anything valuable out of how to kind of move forward in your transition that you hadn't already latched onto?
Dude, hugely abundance mindset. Big. Yeah. I already wrote it down, took some notes, talked about accountability, which I was already kind of thinking about, but I added it to my notes page. The big one for me was abundance that you brought up a few minutes ago. That's huge. And mindfulness, because you're a very chill guy. I'm not sure if you were always a very chill guy.
I was a really angry guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of work on purpose. Definitely didn't happen by accident.
I mean, definitely wasn't an accident. Don't know that it was on purpose either, or if it was,
Okay.
a fucking plant medicine journey that just really opened my eyes to like, I'm not living my life the right way, which largely I think is the truth. Still trying to unpack a lot of stuff from that, and look forward to sharing those insights with people when I do unpack them. But let me tell you, that's a lot of work by itself. But, man, honestly, like all of this stuff is stuff that I did learn, really pre and post integration from that experience. And I'm kind of moving into this phase where I'm like mad that this stuff was hidden from us. And it's why I'm kind of building what I'm building, because these are very simple things that you can start putting into practice today, right now, that I know for a fact, and like you will never convince me otherwise, will change your life. They will change your life if you just get out of your own way and open your mind and practice these things. Just try.
They also cost nothing.
They cost nothing. Literally nothing. You listen to this back and go do the thing.
Well, I mean, you just hit the most important secret right there. Go do the thing, right? It's
Yeah.
action. It's action.
And
That's all that it really takes.
and I have to be very clear on this. Like, I am one of those people who forever did not take any action. I didn't. I didn't do these things. I didn't take action on anything that I would constantly at the I guess the bottom of the transition hole in that dark, really dark spot where you're ready to eat the gun or wreck the motorcycle or however you decide that you're going to do that. I would scroll YouTube. I would learn about all the things that you and I talk about, all the things that I'm currently doing, and I would never take action on them. Never, ever. I would just constantly go and watch more and watch more and the next thing and the next thing. And then I come back from that experience and I start to lose a little bit of weight and I start to build that confidence in myself. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm just gonna try some things. And so everybody knows my story. Started on LinkedIn, 92 followers, encouraged by one of my very best friends, to just post every day and interact with 5 people who interest me. Started throwing shit at the wall, didn't know what was going to stick. And then all of a sudden you start meeting people, you start building a network, and you're like, oh, well, this informs step XYZ, and then, PQM, and then like everything starts to happen because you just take a little bit of action. If you continue to take action, and I don't care if you're trying to build a business or trying to get a good job or trying to build a network or trying to figure out who you are, take some action. Just take some action and see what happens, because what you're going to find is you're going to meet people, you're going to learn things that are going to inform the next step, and then just take action on that step and rinse and repeat.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
It's and like, I don't know why we overthink this. You know what I mean? Like, why do we
want to?
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that's why, because we want to overthink it. We'd rather think about it. We'd rather talk about it. Right? We'd rather theorize, watch more YouTube videos. I've done the same thing, man. I've consumed plenty of content that was valuable and then done nothing about it. I get that, the phase you were talking about. Oh, this is a great concept I learned about on YouTube. Cool. I've heard of it before.
Yeah, but I really don't. And I think that kind of speaks to something larger, right? Like, if that's all you're doing and you're never taking action, like, can you actually say that you learned it?
No.
Right.
No,
And that's what I wasn't getting. I wasn't getting that part of it. It's like, oh yeah, I know that in theory, until you go to try and implement it, and then you fall on your face 8 times because one little setting in this, obscure little location is off, and you're frustrated to the no end, right? Like, you can't know.
Right.
So,
Right.
dude, we just spent an hour talking about some of my favorite shit on the planet, and I really hope this was valuable for everybody. I'm very grateful. Like I said, I was going to say, I truly, genuinely am grateful that you chose to spend an hour with me this afternoon. I know that you're busy with everything that you have going on. I know you're at TAC games this weekend. Dude, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for seeing the things that I religiously talk about on here and kind of validating the things that really will move our brothers and sisters forward in the transition and help them avoid all of those mistakes. I really appreciate you for this.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for listening to my thoughts. I'm glad I could validate some stuff. I Yeah, for everyone that wants any help or wants to talk in the future, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on everything else. Stephen Sampson. I'd love to help you through anything I can. I'm probably going to reach out to you for some help in the future, because I have some basic reference points, but I don't know everything. I've only been out for 4 months.
Well, and I'll leave you with this, brother. The transition is ongoing and never stops. Carlos, thanks for breaking down today's lessons, right? And I'm grateful that you're here to listen to us, man, because this is how we change the landscape of transition for our brothers and sisters. And I really believe that. Anything else you want to say, Stephen, before I send us off here?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I know we're short on time. Yes.
No, we're not.
Right.
I mean, we have all the time in the world, but just the floor is yours, brother.
Abundance mindset.
Abundance. Yep.
Yeah, so over at Greg Group Tactical and QRF, Mark and I were trying to push this idea. I think it's valuable of the warrior class, right? So in other societies, Europe in the past, and some other, probably most of the planet actually in history, there was always a warrior class. The people that did the fighting, the people that trained, and the people that had courage, bravery, and valued things like that, discipline. Everyone worked hard. There was a warrior class. They fought. They had bravery where other people may not have had that. I think that's who we are. We are the warrior class. We were that with a uniform on, but you can be that now, whatever that means to you. But there is courage and bravery, there's strength, there's honor. Those are things you can do at your house today, right? Make the brave choice. I think if we can rebrand ourselves as veterans into the more of the warrior class than
Then
whatever the alternative may be, you were about to nail it. Go ahead with what word?
the victim.
Yeah, then the victim, right? So we're the warrior class. We'll start seeing ourselves as a tribe, as a group of bold people that do strong things. I think that's infinitely valuable.
I
And
agree.
so that's more of the angle that I would like to push. Um, our society does a good job of valuing certain things about where we've come from, but I think we should be the warrior class. Let's go, Carlos. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you, brother. How do you suggest people become a part of the warrior class? What can they do to get involved in that? Tell them what you guys are doing over there.
yeah. So, well, first of all, go look at QRF Up, right? So it's an organization that Adam and I are both involved in. Um, Number one, become part of the tribe that goes and helps other people who are struggling, right? So people who might be victims, might be not, doesn't matter, having a rough day. Um, they literally go on their phone, push the button, talk to somebody for some help. Like it happens that quickly. Push the button, someone picks up, you talk to them. Therapist can actually help you out. And then someone like myself or Adam, who may be near you, can come to you to help.
Yep.
And sometimes it's as easy as, hey, hop in the truck. We're going to go find somebody that can help you out over at the hospital over here, whatever you need. So, or just, hey, I need someone to talk to. And then I think that's crucial to the warrior class is they always took care of each other, right? We
Yep.
are a tribe. We should be that now, not just when we had a uniform on. And of course, part of the warrior class is discipline and fitness. So what we're doing is 125 burpees every day. And Mark and I over at Grey Group are holding each other accountable because we work together. It's easy to be like, hey, you didn't do your burpees yet. Go do some right now, and we'll do them together. But do something challenging. Do something challenging every day. Scare yourself a little bit with the level of challenge. That's
And
what the
I want
warrior class
I
does.
want to leave them why 125 because this is the greatest explanation for 125 I've ever heard in my entire life. And if you stop and be present with what he is saying, it will make a lot of sense to you too. And you'll have an aha moment and you'll stop being afraid of it and just go do it.
Great. Thank you. All right. One, why burpees? The answer is everyone hates them, right? Except for myself. But everyone hates burpees. It's a scary exercise that you don't want to do. If you've gone to a CrossFit class, you've done them a few times, and you know why you hate them. They exist. They're terrible, but they have some of the best bang for your buck as far as results go of any exercise on this planet. It's amazing, and it just requires a floor or a ground or a parking lot. So there's no excuse. Oh, I travel a lot, or oh, I'm in the living room with my little kids and they need me to be around, so I can't do anything. Yeah, you can. You can do burpees on the floor. My kids do burpees with me. It's fine. It's great to see a 3-year-old trying to do burpees. It's awesome. But
I love this part.
dude,
Oh, this
yeah,
is great.
it's awesome. Like it's always about excuses, right? And I have those. Like, oh, my two young sons like need hands-on attention and stuff. Yeah, sure. But do you think they don't want to do push-ups or burpees on the floor? Yeah, they do. Okay, so why 125? 100 because it's a scary number. That's it. That's why it's big. It's just challenging enough that once you accomplish it, you will feel proud. That's why. Um, and then an extra 25 on there. It's because it's the extra quarter mile. Remember back in whatever formation run you used to do back in the service? Whoever's leading the pack, probably that commander or first sergeant leading the show, and everyone knew where the finish line was going to be. We're going to finish there. It's going to be fine. And so they just set their brains to that they're about to be finished. And then they go an extra quarter mile. Everyone's souls break. They're done. People quit right and left immediately, like tiny heart syndrome. And had they held on for, a couple more minutes, they'd be done, right? They would have accomplished it. But it just pushes you that much further, and I think it builds resilience.
It definitely builds resilience, but it also exercises your discipline muscle.
Yeah, and all of the rest of them.
Oh, yeah, all of the rest of them. Stephen, brother, man, thank you so much for being here on Transition Talks today. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget, every Friday I will do these. I will give transitioning veterans a platform to share their woes, whatever it is they want to talk about, for an hour here on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, wherever the hell else I'm live at right now. I don't even remember. It's important. I can only do this if you're willing to volunteer, if you're willing to come on and be vulnerable and create value for our brothers and sisters. I'm not a scary guy. I promise. Reach out. I will DM you back. I do it all day, every day. LinkedIn's always open on my browser. So as soon as a message comes in, I can answer it. I can get with you. I want to do this for you. I genuinely have fun doing this, and it creates so much value for our community. And it can save lives, guys. Like, honestly, it can save our brothers and sisters' lives. I know I'm not the only one out there that's tired of getting notifications of some of the best men and women who have ever walked the face of this earth are taking their own lives. So please reach out to me if you think you have something valuable to contribute. I guarantee you do. Don't be afraid to share it. Until next week, this has been Transition Talks with Stephen Sampson. Brother, so grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here, man. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Adam.